I didn't think much of it at first. Just a line on a bank statement. Ellie had asked me to double-check a few charges from last month. She was sorting out her expense report for work. She's been doing more travel lately, HR stuff, and sometimes her company card glitches and pulls from our joint account. I scrolled through the transactions like always. A grocery run, Uber, coffee shops. But then I saw it. Maple Row Suites, Philadelphia. 2 nights. It didn't match the hotel she told me about. She'd said she stayed at the Franklin Plaza, even mentioned how tiny the gym was. I remember, because she complained about the treadmill. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to make sense. It didn't. Different name. Different address. I clicked for more details. King room. 2 breakfasts. Parking for 1 vehicle. She never mentioned any of this. Still, I didn't jump to conclusions. I mean, come on. It could have been a booking mix-up. Maybe the conference put her up somewhere last minute. Maybe she grabbed breakfast for a coworker. There were explanations. I told myself that. But my stomach said something else. I didn't bring it up that night. I closed the laptop, went back to making dinner. Ellie was on the phone with her boss, laughing at something I couldn't hear. Her voice echoed down the hall like it always did. I didn't say a word. The next morning, though, I started digging. Nothing crazy. Just a little quiet recon. Checked her calendar. It listed the Franklin. Found her travel folder in the closet, printed reservation for a different hotel, but it was never used. And the Maple Row Suites? No trace of it. Not in her docs. Not in her emails. That's when it hit me. It wasn't just about where she stayed. It was about what she didn't tell me. And here's where things started getting messy. Because that same weekend, my younger brother Kevin had gone radio silent. Said he was shooting a wedding in Jersey, but never posted anything. No Instagram stories. No gear pics. Nothing. For a guy who usually can't take a sip of coffee without tagging it, that felt off. We're not super tight, Kevin and I, different lives, different rhythms. But I knew his patterns. And this wasn't it. I checked his location on Find My. It was turned off. Ellie's was too. That's when I stopped pretending this was about hotel points. Something wasn't adding up. And I was either losing my mind, or about to find something I really didn't want to know. I kept it to myself for a couple days. Didn't mention the receipt. Didn't ask about Kevin. Just watched. Ellie was normal. Maybe too normal. She'd kiss me goodbye in the morning, text me a meme around lunch, then come home late saying her team went for drinks after work. Same rhythm, different beat. And me? I started looking closer at things I used to ignore. Like how she'd always put her phone face down. Or how she stopped using our shared laptop and only worked from her company-issued Mac. One night, I caught her smiling at a text. Not just a smirk, the kind of smile you make when someone says something that hits just right. She saw me looking and immediately clicked her screen off. "You good?" I asked. She nodded. "Yeah, just Jen being weird again." Jen. The coworker that apparently sends her 10 inside jokes a day and yet somehow never shows up in real life. I said nothing. Just nodded. And let it slide. Again. But inside? It was building. And maybe I could have lived with the doubt, people do it all the time. Gaslight themselves into peace. But then something happened that finally flipped the switch. Kevin called me. Out of nowhere. "Hey, man," he said. "Just wanted to check in. It's been a while." Yeah. It had been a while. I kept it casual. Asked about work, his latest projects. He gave vague answers, which wasn't like him. I asked how Jersey was, the wedding shoot. "Oh," he said, "yeah. That one got cancelled. Weather issues." I ended up just chilling for the weekend. That was it. Right there. The crack. I asked where he stayed. He paused. "Philly, actually," he said. "Friend had an open room at a suite." Figured I'd crash there for a couple nights, get some editing done. Philly. Same weekend. Same city. My chest tightened. I almost said something right then, almost let it all spill. But instead, I just said, "Cool, man. Glad you got a break." And hung up. I sat there for a long time after that. Quiet apartment. Ellie in the shower. Murphy curled up on the windowsill. Everything looked the same. But nothing felt the same. You know that feeling when the floor's about to give way under you? Yeah. That was me. And what I hated most, wasn't the idea of them together. Not yet, anyway. It was the lies. The fact that both of them looked me in the eye and smiled. Like I was just some extra in a story they'd already rewritten. I needed to know. And the only way to get the truth, was to act like I didn't already suspect it. I didn't sleep much that week. I'd close my eyes, try to drift off, and then my brain would play it all back. The hotel name. Kevin's voice. Ellie's sudden late nights. I wasn't imagining it. I knew that now. Still, I didn't want to blow everything up without proof. I needed to be sure. Not for drama. Just for me. So I started small. Ellie had a drawer in the hallway where she kept travel receipts, chargers, business cards from conferences. I waited until she left for work one morning and went through it. Not to snoop, not really, but to confirm a gut feeling I couldn't shake. Inside were 2 folders. One for past trips, one labeled, pending reimbursements. I found the receipt for the Franklin Plaza, the hotel she claimed she stayed at. Dated for the same weekend. Looked official, but there was a problem. The booking was cancelled. Refunded 2 days before her trip. She never mentioned that. I checked the Maple Rose Suites again on our joint bank app, the charge posted that same weekend. So unless she accidentally slept at 2 places at once, she'd lied. And here's what really got me, she hadn't even tried to cover it up. Like part of her assumed I'd never check. Or worse, that if I did check, I'd be too afraid to ask. That pissed me off. Later that day, I did something I never thought I would. I opened an incognito browser and searched. How to tell if your spouse is cheating without confronting them. Yeah. That's where I was. And I'll admit, some of the advice online was just ridiculous. Hire a private investigator. Go through their phone. Plant a tracker. What the hell kind of life is that? But then I found something simpler. If you suspect something's going on, try syncing location services. Not to track them. Just to see if they've disabled it. So that night, I asked Ellie, casually, if she'd turned off her location sharing. Told her I couldn't see her on Find My anymore. She froze for half a second. Oh, she said. That's weird. Probably a bug. I'll fix it later. She didn't. I checked Kevin's, too. Still off. Next day, I did what any slightly paranoid, decently tech-savvy husband might do. I dropped a spare AirTag into Ellie's work bag. Tucked in the bottom pouch next to her hairbrush. Nothing crazy. Just for a couple of days. I told myself it was just to rule things out. Deep down, I already knew the answer. That Friday, Ellie left for happy hour with coworkers. Said it might run late. Don't wait up, she added, kissing my cheek. An hour later, I checked the tracker. She was nowhere near the office. She was back in Philly. Same damn hotel. Maple Rose Suites. I stared at the AirTag location for a solid minute. Didn't move. Didn't blink. Just sat there on the couch with Murphy curled next to me, completely unaware his owner was slowly losing his mind. Same hotel. Same city. Second time. I checked the time. 7:42 p.m. The rational part of me said, leave it. Just wait. Talk it out later. Be calm. Be smart. But another voice, quieter, meaner, whispered. You've seen enough. You just haven't faced it yet. I grabbed my keys. The drive to Philly was just under 5 hours. I didn't even pack a bag. Just threw on a jacket, filled up the tank, and told Murphy not to trash the place while I was gone. The first hour, I felt numb. Focused on the road, barely registering music or traffic. I had no real plan. No speech prepared. I wasn't even sure I'd confront her. Maybe I just wanted to see it. With my own eyes. Somewhere near Hartford, I started shaking. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It was something worse. Shame. Like I'd been played in a game I didn't know I was in. Like they'd been laughing behind my back this whole time, my wife and my little brother. The two people who knew me best. What kind of person does that? And more importantly, how long had it been going on? 2 hours out, I stopped at a gas station for coffee. My hands were still trembling as I opened the GPS again. The tracker hadn't moved. Still Maple Row Suites. Still there. The last stretch was the hardest. Every red light felt like a joke. Every car in front of me felt like it was in on something. I drove in silence. No music. Just the sound of my turn signal ticking like a countdown. I parked across the street from the hotel around midnight. Not a fancy place, but not a dump either. Mid-tier, quiet lobby, tinted windows. I could see the reflection of my own car lights on the glass. I sat there. For a long time. Didn't get out. Didn't call her. Just stared at the entrance like it might reveal something. I didn't even know what room she was in. I didn't need to. Because at 12:18, the elevator doors opened, and there they were. Ellie. Kevin. Laughing about something. She had her hand on his arm. He leaned close to say something, and she tilted her head the way she always does when she's charmed. They didn't see me. They walked out of the lobby together. Crossed to the side lot. Same car I'd seen Kevin drive last Christmas, silver Civic with a dent in the side. He opened the door for her. She got in. And that was it. No kiss. No embrace. But the way they moved. I didn't need proof. I'd seen enough. I put the car in reverse. And drove straight back to Boston. I got home just after 5 a.m. The apartment was cold. Murphy blinked at me from the hallway like he couldn't believe I came back so early. Or maybe he sensed something had changed. I dropped my keys on the kitchen counter and just stood there for a while. Didn't turn the lights on. Just stood there. I should have felt angry. Or shattered. Or ready to burn it all down. But honestly, I felt empty. Like someone had pulled the last piece out from inside me, and all that was left was silence. I didn't sleep. Didn't eat. Just sat on the couch with a cup of cold coffee and stared out the window like it might give me an answer. By the time Ellie came home that night, I was calm. Too calm. She walked in like nothing happened. Tossed her bag down, kicked off her shoes. "Hey," she said, all casual. "Sorry I'm late. Everything good?" I looked at her. I looked at her and realized. I didn't know who I was looking at. I nodded. "Yeah. All good." She smiled, relieved maybe. Or proud of whatever performance she thought she was pulling off. Then she went into the bedroom to change, and I heard her humming to herself. And I knew then, I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to confront her. Or corner Kevin. Or demand answers I already had. No. I was just going to leave. Not in a rage. Not to make a scene. Just, out. I waited a few more days. Moved slow. Careful. Every time Ellie left for work, I'd pack a few more things. Sweaters. My laptop. Tools. Stuff that was mine and mine alone. I took nothing that we bought together. Nothing that she might argue over later. Didn't touch the furniture. Left the TV. Even left the kitchen knives she liked. By Thursday, most of my stuff was in a storage unit I rented across town. That night, while she was out with coworkers again, I sat down at the kitchen table and wrote a note. Not dramatic. Not poetic. Just 10 words. Hope it was worth it. I'm done. Please don't call. I placed it beside my wedding ring. And walked out the door. Didn't look back. I didn't really have a plan for where to go. Just knew I couldn't stay there. So I drove. Nowhere in particular. Just kept moving. Ended up in a small town west of Worcester, where the streets go quiet after 9 p.m. and nobody cares who you are. Found a cheap roadside motel, one of those with a faded neon sign and a vending machine that only takes quarters. Paid cash. Didn't give my real name. Didn't need to. Room 12. The heater rattled. The faucet leaked. But the door locked, and that was all I cared about. I dropped my duffel on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed. And just breathed. It was the first time in weeks, maybe months, that I felt like I could actually hear myself think. No pretending. No smiling through suspicion. Just me, alone, in a quiet room that didn't ask for anything. And yeah, the silence was heavy. But it wasn't suffocating. It was mine. I ordered some greasy takeout, barely touched it. Let the TV play some late-night movie I didn't care about. Then turned it off and lay back on the bed, fully clothed. I stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours. No texts from Ellie. Not yet. I figured she hadn't come home yet, or maybe she had and thought I was out. It might take her a while to realize what had happened. I left my phone behind, wiped clean, sitting on the kitchen counter next to the note. I didn't want her voice in my head. Didn't want Kevin's either. What would they even say? Sorry. You misunderstood. It didn't mean anything. Whatever it was, I didn't need it. Not anymore. That night, sleep came slow, but it came. Eventually. And when I woke up just after sunrise, in that stiff motel bed with a cheap polyester blanket and a coffee machine that groaned like it was dying, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Light. Not good. Not happy. But free. I stayed at the motel for 3 nights. No plan, no destination. Just needed somewhere quiet where no one asked questions. The lady at the front desk barely looked up after the first day. I liked that. Every morning I'd wake up early, walk to the gas station nearby, and grab burnt coffee and a stale muffin. Sit on a bench behind the building. Stare at nothing. There's a strange clarity in doing nothing. Your brain, at first, wants to solve it. Figure out what went wrong. What you missed. How someone you trusted, 2 people you trusted, could pull the ground out from under you and walk away like it was nothing. But eventually, the questions stop meaning anything. You just sit with the quiet. And wait for it to stop hurting. By Sunday afternoon, I knew I couldn't hide in that room forever. The heater had one setting, volcano. My back hurt from the bed. And every time I turned on the TV, there was some romantic subplot that made me want to throw the remote through the window. So I packed what little I had and drove out of town. Didn't go back to Boston. Couldn't. Instead, I took the back roads north, not thinking, just driving. Somewhere outside Amherst, I pulled off into a small overlook. There was a parking lot, half empty, and a trailhead leading down into a wooded path. I sat on the hood of my car for a long while, just watching the trees. Then I did something that surprised even me. I called Tom. He's an old friend. College roommate, used to be a total mess, now runs a brewery and lives in a cabin he built himself. We hadn't talked in almost a year, not really. Just a few half-hearted texts around holidays. When he picked up, his voice was the same. Mark. Holy hell, man. You alive? I almost laughed. Barely. Talk to me. I hesitated. Then I said it. Ellie cheated on me. With Kevin. Dead silence. No static. Just, the sound of someone not knowing what to say. And finally, Jesus, man. Come up here. Stay a while. I mean it. I didn't say yes right away. I don't like feeling like a burden. But Tom. He didn't even give me time to overthink it. You don't have to explain anything. Just come. Bring your mess. I've got space and beer and enough bad decisions for both of us. I chuckled, first time in days. Maybe I needed that. Someone who wasn't going to analyze it. Just be there. So I headed north. Tom's place is a few miles out from Montpelier, Vermont. Middle of nowhere. Cabin backed into forest, gravel driveway, big porch with two mismatched chairs and a chipped cooler between them. He greeted me in a hoodie and socks with holes. "You look like someone just kicked your soul down a flight of stairs," he said. "Feels accurate," I muttered. "Good. Sit your ass down. You're home." And just like that, for the first time in a long while, I let my shoulders drop. I still had no job plan. No idea what to do with the condo. No clue how Ellie would respond, or when Kevin would pretend to explain himself. But I had a chair. A beer. And someone next to me who wasn't lying. It wasn't much. But it was something. Tom let me settle in without questions. That was the best part. He cleared out the guest room, just a bed, a wooden chair, and a tiny desk. I tossed my bag down and closed the door behind me. No welcome banners. No speeches about healing. Just space. The first night, we didn't talk about Ellie or Kevin. We sat on the porch, drank, watched the trees breathe with the wind. He told a story about a raccoon that broke into his basement and got drunk off spilled hops. I laughed. Genuinely. It felt stupid to laugh, like I wasn't allowed, but I did. The second night, we grilled steak and listened to old Nirvana records. Still didn't bring it up. I think he was waiting for me to open the door. Let it out on my own terms. I didn't. Not yet. But on the third day, I cracked. We were stacking firewood out behind the cabin. The wind had that dry bite to it, fall giving way to winter. My hands were already sore. Tom had just said something about cutting a tree near the creek next weekend, and I wasn't even listening. Because suddenly I said it. She lied to my face. He didn't respond right away. I dropped a log too hard on the pile and looked up. 2 months. Maybe more. That's how long I think it was going on. Could be longer. And I never suspected him. Never. That's the part that messes me up the most. Tom leaned on the axe handle, his breath fogging the air. "Your brother?" I nodded. "My own goddamn brother." It hung there between us. Felt like saying it out loud made it more real, not less. Like now it had weight. Volume. Shape. I saw them, I added. Together. Not doing anything, not caught in the act or whatever. But it was enough. The way they moved. The way she smiled at him. It was enough. I dropped another log on the pile. Left the next day. Didn't even confront her. Just left a note and walked out. Tom whistled softly. "Good for you." I gave a bitter half-laugh. "Yeah. Real heroic. You know what I really wanted to do? Break something. Yell. Grab Kevin by the collar and ask him how the hell he looked me in the eye for months. So why didn't you?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, because I was tired. I wasn't even angry at first. I was just tired. Like something in me broke, and I didn't even want to put it back together. He nodded slowly, didn't say anything for a while. Just kept stacking. Eventually, he said, "You're gonna feel everything in waves. Anger, sure. Then nothing. Then shame. Then a weird kind of freedom. It'll come and go." I said, "You sound like someone who's been through it." He gave me a look. "Let's just say I don't have a dog anymore because my ex liked her better." We both laughed, even if it wasn't really funny. Later that night, I lay on the guest bed, staring at the ceiling beams. There were things I still hadn't admitted, not even to Tom. Like how I missed Ellie. Not her lies, not her betrayal. But the version of her from before. The comfort. The routine. The sense of being part of something, even if it was fake in the end. And Kevin? I didn't even know where to file him anymore. He wasn't my brother. Not now. Not the way brothers are supposed to be. He was just a stranger with my last name. But no matter how bad it hurt, I didn't regret leaving. Not for a second. You don't stay in a house once it's burned down. Even if the outside still looks okay. You walk away. Or you choke on the smoke. The thing nobody tells you about starting over, is how much dead time there is. Not emotional breakdowns. Not late-night drinking or wild acts of rebellion. No, just long, quiet stretches where nothing happens. Where you wake up, breathe, eat, sit, breathe again, and still have no damn idea what to do with yourself. That's where I was. Mornings came early at Tom's place. Cabin life. The sun hit the windows around 6:30, and the sound of birds was louder than any alarm clock. Tom would already be outside, chopping wood or fixing something that didn't seem broken. He was like that, always in motion. Like if he stopped moving, the grief might catch up. I started helping him, mostly just to feel useful. We rebuilt a busted section of fence. Painted a toolshed that didn't need painting. Even cleared out part of the trail near the creek. It helped. A little. But then night would come, and I'd lie there staring at the ceiling again. I kept asking myself one question, what now? I had no apartment, gave Ellie the condo without even blinking. Didn't want to fight for a place that held nothing but echoes now. I'd pulled some cash from savings, cancelled every subscription, dropped off the grid entirely. Left the job too, not because they asked, but because I couldn't sit through another Zoom meeting pretending like my world hadn't just collapsed. I was 38. No kids. No house. No marriage. Just me and a duffel bag, sleeping in someone else's spare room. I didn't want pity. I just wanted a direction. Tom kept trying to talk me into staying long-term. Said there was room on the property to build a tiny place. Said I could work for the brewery, part-time, help with inventory, deliveries, logistics. It was a decent offer. Honest work. But I couldn't say yes. Not yet. There was still something unresolved inside me. Something tangled up and half-rotten that I hadn't dug out yet. One night, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my laptop. Just for a second, just to clear files, I told myself. There we were. Me, Ellie, and Kevin, all smiles at a barbecue last year. Ellie in a sundress, Kevin with his camera slung over his shoulder. Me with a beer in hand and absolutely no clue what was coming. I stared at that picture way too long. Then I deleted it. One by one, I started going through everything. Photos, emails, even old calendar reminders that said things like, dinner with Kev or Ellie's work trip. Deleted them all. It felt good. Not cleansing. Just necessary. I knew I wasn't done grieving. That would come in waves, like Tom said. But I also knew that keeping those digital ghosts around wasn't helping. They weren't memories anymore. They were evidence. Of what I lost. Of who they really were. And I was tired of carrying it. By the end of the week, I'd wiped my phone, backed up only the essentials. Got a new number. No social media. No email from the old life. It felt like shutting off the lights in a house I no longer lived in. That Friday, Tom came in from town and tossed a manila envelope on the kitchen table. Got something for you, he said. Inside was a stack of brochures and local job listings. Real stuff. Construction. Logistics. IT work at the local college. I'm not saying you gotta stay, he said. But you can't just float forever. He was right. Eventually, you have to start choosing again. Even if you don't trust your own judgment yet. Even if you're still bleeding. Divorce doesn't happen by magic. You can disappear for a while, sure. But eventually, the paperwork catches up. She emailed me 2 weeks after I left. Mark, we'll need to meet. There's still paperwork, property, and legal stuff to sort out. Let's just keep it civil and efficient. Civil and efficient. Like we were just canceling a gym membership. We agreed to meet at a law office in Cambridge, neutral ground. Her lawyer had already drafted the basics. I was supposed to review and sign. 30 minutes, tops. I showed up early. Sat in the lobby, staring at some dull print of a mountain range. My heart wasn't racing. It wasn't numb either. Just, tired. When Ellie walked in, I recognized her instantly, but she felt distant. Like a photo of someone I used to know. Hair pulled back. No makeup. Pale. She looked like someone who hadn't slept much, or slept too much trying to forget. We didn't hug. We didn't shake hands. Just a nod. The assistant led us to a small conference room. 2 chairs, a long table, a stack of paper between us. Ellie cleared her throat. "I'm glad you agreed to meet," she said quietly. I nodded. Needed to be done. We both stared at the papers for a second too long. Then she said it. "I know you saw us." There it was. Just like that. I didn't flinch. I did. She looked down. Her fingers tapped the table, once, twice. I didn't want it to happen like this. I almost laughed. "How exactly did you want it to happen, Ellie? Brunch? A slideshow?" But I didn't say that. I just stared at her and said, "You could have told me the truth. Before." "I was scared," she said. "Ashamed. Not ashamed enough to stop." She winced. Not dramatically, just a quick flicker across her face. Silence sat between us like a third person. Then I asked the question I'd been avoiding. "How long?" She hesitated. "A few months. Maybe more. It started when Kevin came back for that New Year's party." I shook my head. "That was 9 months ago." She added, "It wasn't planned." I leaned back in the chair. "No one ever plans betrayal. But you stuck with it. You chose it." "I know." That's all she said. No begging. No excuses. Just I know. There was something brutal about how calm it all felt. Like the damage had already happened so long ago, and now we were just sweeping up glass. The assistant came in, handed us both pens, and pointed to where we needed to sign. Page by page, we scrawled our names across the end of a life we'd built. Near the end, I paused. "I hope he was worth it," I said, not bitter, just honest. She swallowed hard. "I don't even know anymore." That almost made me feel sorry for her. Almost. When it was done, she stood up first. "I'll be out of the apartment by next week," she said. "You can keep it if you want." "I don't," I said. "It's full of ghosts." She gave a faint smile. "Yeah. I get that." She started toward the door, then stopped. Turned halfway. "Mark. I'm sorry. For everything." I didn't say, "It's okay." Because it wasn't. I didn't say, "I forgive you." Because I didn't. I just nodded. And she left. That was it. No big final moment. No teary goodbye. Just the end. As quiet as the first lie. I stepped out into the sunlight, pulled in a breath that didn't feel heavy anymore. There wasn't joy. Or relief. But there was air. And sometimes, that's enough. If you liked my story, then write a comment about it and put a like. I would be grateful for your subscription. Listen to other stories. Have a good day.